Hello and welcome. It is February 18th, 2026, and what I'm about to share with you challenges the very foundation of planetary science. Less than 8 hours ago, NASA's James Webb Space Telescope aligned perfectly to watch Comet 3 Atlas pass in front of a distant background star, an event we call a stellar occultation. In a standard model, the star should have vanished behind the solid nucleus of the comet. It should have gone dark, but it didn't. Instead, the data stream from the near-infrared camera, or nearer cam, showed something that has a 0.00% probability of happening in nature. The star remained visible. Not just visible around the edges, but visible through the center of the object. Picture this. You are holding a large jagged rock in your hand. You hold it up to the sun. The rock casts a shadow. It blocks the light completely. Now imagine that same rock suddenly transforming into a lens, clear, crystalline, and optically perfect, allowing the light to pass straight through it. That is exactly what 3I Atlas just did. We are not talking about a comet that disintegrated or faded away. The mass is still there. The gravity is still there, but the opacity, it's gone. Think about that for a moment. We are looking at an object 240 million kilometers from Earth, roughly 5 kilometers wide, that has suddenly achieved the optical properties of high-grade industrial glass. Nature does not build windows in deep space. Ice reflects. It doesn't become perfectly transparent to infrared wavelengths instantly. This suggests a phase change or an artificial alteration that our current physics cannot explain. I modeled this scenario at 4 a.m. this morning using the data from the Minor Planet Center. If this were a natural sublimation event, we would see a debris cloud. We would see dust scattering the light. But Webb sees nothing but a clean geometric transparency. The background star didn't even flicker. The implications of this are keeping astrophysicists awake right now, because if 3 Atlas is transparent, what is it hiding inside? And more importantly, why did it wait until it was this close to Earth to reveal its true nature? To understand why this is rewriting the textbooks, you have to look at the timeline. 3 Atlas was discovered just 8 months ago. Initially, it behaved like a textbook interstellar comet. It had a coma. It had a tail. It was outgassing volatiles like carbon monoxide and water. And we thought we understood this object. It fit the standard model perfectly. But on February 12th, just 6 days ago, the coma, the fuzzy cloud around the nucleus, simply vanished. It didn't dissipate over months as physics predicts. It collapsed in less than 4 hours, and then the nucleus itself began to dim, not because it was getting smaller, but because it was ceasing to reflect sunlight. At that moment, astronomers at the Pan-STARRS Observatory in Hawaii thought the object had disintegrated. That is the standard explanation. Comets break apart, the dust scatters, and they disappear. But the gravity data told a different story, and this is where the mystery deepens. NASA's Deep Space Network was still tracking the object's trajectory. The mass, estimated 33 billion tons, was still there. The gravitational influence on surrounding dust was still there. The object had not disintegrated. It had simply stopped interacting with visible light in the way matter is supposed to. Let me put this in perspective. If a mountain floats in the sky, you assume it's an illusion. If 3 different surveyors measure the mountain and they all say it's floating, you have to rewrite your understanding of gravity. So, we have that confirmation. Now first, NASA's James Webb Space Telescope pointed its NISP instrument at the coordinates. It detected the thermal signature of the object. It was warm, radiating heat. But visually, in the near-infrared, the background stars were shining through the estimated center of mass with 98% luminosity. Second, ESA's Gaia spacecraft, which measures the precise positions of stars, detected a gravitational lensing effect. The mass of 3I Atlas bent the light of the stars behind it, proving the object is solid and massive. Yet gas phototrick sensors registered almost zero opacity. Third, the Very Large Telescope VLT in Chile cross-referenced these findings using high-resolution spectroscopy. Their conclusion: the surface composition is not water ice. It is not rock. The spectral absorption lines are flat. 3 independent sources, different methodologies, identical conclusion. We are looking at a solid object, 5 kilometers wide, massive enough to bend starlight with gravity, yet transparent enough to let starlight pass through it. The numbers don't lie. In 4 million years of cometary observation, we have never seen a natural object turn off its reflectivity while maintaining its mass. Nature creates clouds that are see-through. Nature creates crystals that are translucent. But nature does not create 3 billion-ton asteroids that vanish from the visual spectrum while remaining gravitationally active. And here is what fascinates me the most: when you analyze the light that did pass. Now, let's look at the physics, because this is where the standard model completely breaks down. In my field, theoretical physics, we deal with the behavior of matter. We know that comets are dirty snowballs, mixes of rock dust and frozen gases. When light hits a dirty snowball, it scatters. It reflects. It absorbs. That is why comets are visible. Even the purest ice in the universe has imperfections, cracks, and bubbles that scatter light. To get an object 5 kilometers wide to be transparent, to have an optical depth of near zero, you need a Porter. You need a lattice structure so perfect that photons can pass through billions of atoms without hitting a nucleus or an electron cloud that absorbs them. In nature, we see this at a small scale. Think of a diamond. Carbon atoms arranged in a perfect crystal lattice let light through. But a diamond the size of a city. A diamond form in the chaotic violet environment of deep space. The probability of 3 Atlas forming a single flawless crystal structure 5 kilometers wide by natural accretion is statistically 0. It is less than 1 in a trillion. The entropy of the universe, the tendency towards disorder, forbids it. But the data from the ALMA Observatory in Chile suggests something even stranger. So when we analyzed the light passing through a 3I atlas, we didn't just see the background stars. We saw that the light was polarized. Let me explain what that means. Normal starlight vibrates in all directions, but the light coming through this object is vibrating in a single unified plane. This doesn't happen when light passes through random ice or gas. This happens when light passes through a specific type of filter, a polarizing lens. This implies internal structure. This implies that the material of 3I Atlas isn't just transparent. It is an optical instrument. We have to ask the question that makes many of my colleagues uncomfortable. Is this a metamaterial? Metamaterials are substances engineered to have properties not found in nature. In my lab, we can create small pieces of metamaterial that bend light around an object, making it invisible, a cloak of invisibility. We do this by engineering the surface at the microscopic level to manipulate electromagnetic waves. If 3I Atlas is a natural object, it has somehow evolved a surface structure that mimics our most advanced optical engineering. If it is not a natural object, then we are looking at a hull, a shell designed to manipulate light, perhaps for propulsion, perhaps for communication, or perhaps to hide what is inside. Think about the implications. We have assumed for decades that an alien probe would look like a ship, metal, lights, engines. But what if the most efficient way to travel the stars is not in a metal box, but inside a massive engineered crystal that can harvest starlight directly? What if transparency isn't an accident? What if it's a function? And just when we thought the physics couldn't get any more exotic, the trajectory data came in. Because transparent objects should behave differently under the pressure of sunlight. But 3 isn't just letting light through. It's accelerating. Everything I have shown you, the impossible transparency, the polarization, the perfect crystal structure, All of it could theoretically be dismissed as the rarest natural phenomenon in the universe, a 1 in a trillion freak accident of cosmic formation. But we are not done, because on February 14th at 8:30 UTC, the trajectory of 3I Atlas changed, and it changed in a way that defies Kepler's laws of planetary motion. When a comet moves to the solar system, it is pushed by gravity. Sometimes if it gets close to the sun, the ice boils off, creating a jet that pushes it like a rocket. This is called non-gravitational acceleration, and we see it all the time. But remember, 3 Atlas has no ice. It has no jets. It has no coma. It is a solid, transparent block moving through a vacuum. Yet NASA's tracking data confirms an acceleration of 0.00003 astronomical units per day squared away from the sun. This should not be possible without mass ejection, without rocket fuel, without solar wind pressure on a large surface area, because remember, it's transparent. Light goes through it, so it shouldn't push it. There is no known mechanism for this object to speed up unless it is manipulating the light inside itself. This is the data that prompted the classified briefing at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory yesterday. The polarization we detected. It wasn't just a property of the material. It was changing. The angle of polarization shifted by exactly 14 degrees in perfect synchronization with the acceleration burst. This suggests that 3I Atlas is not just a passive lens. It is an active photonic drive. It is taking the sunlight that enters its front face, bending it internally through a metamaterial structure, and ejecting it out the back with specific momentum. It is sailing on light, not by reflecting it with a giant sail, but by refracting it through its own body. If this hypothesis is correct and the math supports it, then 3 Atlas is a solid-state engine. It has no moving parts, it has no fuel tanks. It uses the geometry of its own atomic structure to turn starlight into thrust. Think about the engineering required for that. This is technology that is thousands, perhaps millions of years ahead of our own. We struggle to make solar sails a few microns thick. This object is kilometers thick, and it is doing something we can only dream of in a laboratory. And here is the most chilling part. The acceleration vector isn't random. It isn't just moving away from the sun. It is correcting its course. Let's establish what we know with absolute certainty. Verse 3. I-Atlas is a massive object that defies the standard model of cometary physics. Second, it has undergone a radical phase change, becoming optically transparent to a degree that natural ice cannot achieve. Third, independent data from NASA, ESA, and ground-based observatories confirms it is polarizing light and accelerating without mass ejection. These are not theories. These are documented observations. But one question remains unanswered. One question that the scientific consensus carefully avoids because the answer is terrifying. Where is it going? When we run the trajectory models forward, factoring in this new non-gravitational acceleration, the path of 3 Atlas shifts. It is no longer just passing through on a hyperbolic curve to exit the solar system aimlessly. The new vector aligns with disturbing precision to a specific intercept point. It is not heading for Earth. That would be too simple. It is heading for the L5 Longa point of the Earth-Sun system. For those who don't know, L5 is a gravitational parking lot. It is a stable region of space where an object can remain stationary relative to Earth indefinitely with almost zero energy expenditure. It is the perfect observation post. If 3S creates a braking maneuver in the next 3 weeks, if it slows down, then we are not looking at a traveler passing through. We are looking at a visitor arriving because the answer determines everything. If this is a natural phenomenon, then we have discovered a new state of matter, a dark ice that challenges thermodynamics. That alone is a Nobel Prize discovery. If this is an artificial object, a probe, a relay, a sensor, then the silence is about to break. And if it is something else entirely, something we don't have a word for yet, then we are like ants looking at a highway trying to understand the purpose of the cars passing by. And the clock is running right now. As you watch this, the Deep Space Network is listening. Every hour brings new telemetry. In less than 20 days, 3 Alice will reach its perihelion, its closest point to the sun. That is the moment of truth. That is when the heat will be maximum. That is when the acceleration will either stop or increase. The telescopes are pointed, the detectors are live, the data stream is active, Ceni Atlas is transparent. It is accelerating. It is correcting its course. And whatever 3 Atlas is,